genocide was responsible for decimating thousands of families, schools, and workplaces. It destroyed everybody it touched, both literally and mentally. But what is genocide? The Oxford English Dictionary says, the deliberate killing of a large group of people, especially those from a particular nation or ethnic group. In 1994, a Polish Jewish lawyer named Raphael Lemkin sought to describe Nazi policies of systematic murder, including the destruction of European Jewry. He formed the word genocide by combining geno, from the Greek word for race or tribe, with cide, from the Latin word for killing. In proposing this new term, Lemkin had in mind a coordinated plan of different actions aiming at the destruction of essential foundations of the life of national groups, with the aim of annihilating the groups themselves. The next year, the International Military Tribunal at Nuremberg charged senior Nazis with crimes against humanity. The word genocide was included in the indictment, but was used as a descriptive and not legal term. A more appropriate word, however, and certainly more descriptive, is its synonym, massacre. Hitler's campaign is actually listed as the second largest genocide, with almost 12 million people killed, including those in concentration camps, civilians, and 3 million Russian POWs left to die. In terms of the 6 years, that is 2 million a year, almost 6,000 a day, 248 an hour, or simply 4 people a minute. Putting it into another context, that is the population of Hull being wiped out over 48 times in just 6 years. Over 6 million of those murdered were Jewish. An estimated 1.1 million were innocent children. We know about all of this. Most of us heard this from our parents or at school. But what have we actually learned from it? Looking at recent headlines, we haven't learned a lot. Syria's civil war has become a genocide was the headline of papers everywhere. We are told it was important to look at how those in the international community define the Syrian crisis, and that, in close analysis, it becomes clear the crisis centres around the targeted nature of the use of chemical weapons and how this falls into what we describe as genocide. The regime appeared to be attempting to eliminate part of the Sunni population. One report presented read, while the definition of genocide can be debated technically, politically, and legally, the Genocide Convention makes clear that the crimes committed in Syria are in fact considered genocide. This conflict has already cost the lives of well over 100,000 Syrians, displaced millions more, and involved numerous atrocities and crimes against humanity. In June 2012, grave concern was expressed about the escalating violence in Syria and warned that the increasingly sectarian nature of that violence could, if unchecked, lead to genocide. In March 2013, a report written by Frederick C. Hoff, analysing that sectarian nature, concluded that the longer the conflict lasts, the greater the danger is of widespread sectarian mass atrocities and genocide in certain areas. If you asked a normal, healthy person in the street if the Nazis' agenda was wrong, they would emphatically say yes. Yet, human beings still insist on murdering others, torturing and maiming in the name of religion, race, or country. Innocent children are shot, gassed, and poisoned for being the wrong race, the wrong religion. They are innocent. No conscious decisions were made by them to be in that group. They do not pose a threat to anybody, except that they will believe what they are taught growing up and will in turn pass on what they have learned, their religion, their beliefs, their cultures, to the next generation. I suppose this could be precisely what we would say of those that carry out the heinous crimes. They are following orders and prejudices that have been instilled in them from a young age. It is fair to say that the way that we are brought up can create prejudice within us. We're all touched by prejudice of some kind, even from a young age. Prejudice prejudice haunts us, particularly in places that should be safe. On a very small scale, one of my school friends has the most beautiful, vibrant red hair, but due to the teasing she received in the playground, she often felt the necessary to change her outward appearance and dye it brown. Unkind thoughts followed her around the school, and she felt very isolated and alone. And this is because humans have a capacity to mindlessly believe what they have been taught in their early childhood, and to act based on the thoughts of others. It is a seed that once planted is now impossible to destroy. Helen Mirren, or Mironov as she was, succinctly talks about learned prejudice in her autobiography, In the Frame. She recalls a time in 1952. It is a time and a memory that has plagued her since. It was in the playground of Hamlet Court Primary School that I committed one of the most horrible, shameful acts of my life. I must have been about 7 at the time. There was a girl in my class called Geraldine, and I really liked her. She was one of my few friends, maybe my only friend. She was smart, bright, and fun. Then one day I told her I couldn't play with her anymore because she was Jewish. Some foul little edict had come down from the popular kids, the bullies and dictators who declared public policy. Wimp that I was, cowardly and weak jerk, I obeyed the playground Nazis instead of following my true feelings. I have never forgotten the look on her face, standing there in the bike shed. She sensibly never spoke to me again, and I have felt deeply guilty ever since. That was the world of the playground as I remember it. Small wonder that the sound of the bell going off for break would fill me with dread. I feel this beautifully illustrates how ignorance leads to prejudice. I believe we should be urged to educate ourselves and encourage those around us to do otherwise. Ruth Messinger of the American Jewish World Service once wrote, "I pledge to be alert to any and all potential and actual genocides around the world, to step in and mobilize others to step in with all the necessary service and advocacy actions. It is our responsibility to protect the people of the world against assaults on their lives that are too visible and alive in too many parts of the world." Education and awareness is seemingly key in preventing hate crimes. But in a world where information is available at the touch of a button, and where 12 million people were once killed in a warped vision of ethnic perfection, I find myself asking, why is genocide still rife? As many of you may know, my father is Jewish. His mother's family fled Latvia to escape a pogrom genocide. They expected to arrive in the New World and eventually found their way to Grimsby, where they made the best of it, grateful for survival, and the family hasn't strayed too far since. I am grateful that they escaped because it means that I am here, and that I am privileged to come from an interesting, wonderful family, and to know so much about a fascinating religion and the culture that has been born of it.